did nothing.
And I guess
Didn't even
Who pointed it out to them? Who at least, I mean, there has to be some.
Winnie Escobar. Now, if you want to talk about somebody who's got some credibility, Winnie worked for Gain, ran Gain for like 4 years, and she's worked at Harper, she's worked everywhere but my clinic. And this lady is reporting this to Senator Rodriguez, and Senator Rodriguez did nothing. No follow-up, no nothing.
So any of you did to what? You guys work for senators. So what is, or is there any type of action to be taken on an agency where the board does not follow the regulations or the law that are established? I mean, is there any kind of oversight?
Yeah, it'd be reasonable.
Outside of oversight.
But that's the function reserved for the legislature. It's an oversight hearing. You know, that's
we
the way.
had
Well,
one
we're
Board of
exploring-
Toxicology. We had an oversight hearing, like last year.
So what we're exploring is if Dennis Rodriguez gets in again, we're going to try and explore an ethics complaint against him as a senator for not doing his job. And effectively,
He did again, so you don't have to worry about that part.
right. And why mess with it if he gets in?
He's a shoo-in.
So yeah, so we're probably going to approach it that way because he has an ethical right to the public health and welfare. We are talking about public health and welfare. We're talking about a quarantine place that has no business being quarantined, doesn't have an occupancy permit, and can't pass inspection. We got the documents right here for DPW, does not have an occupancy permit. Harper has never had an occupancy permit in her quarantine.
Matter of fact, he never has any of the rest of them.
Right. And yet, they tried to shut me down, and I'm the only one with one.
Okay, so where are you guys going?
So anyways,
Where are you
Well,
going
actually,
from
what I
here?
was going to say is we are actually just waiting 1 minute for Dr. Martinez to come. We do understand he had a last minute patient he did need to take. We're going to offer this moment to, if anyone would like some beverages or food and everything, we're going to get that out of the way before he gets here. And then when him and Pete Paris said he'll be here in just in a moment, when they do get here, we will immediately start an organized conversation one at a time. But as of right now, feel free to open discussion. One minute.
Paris, he's from-
Studio 211 is a cosmetology board, which directs with Pete Paris, and he, as of approximately 1 week ago, was shut down at the mall, Studio 211. And I believe the issue was wash stations.
His sanitation permit.
Yep.
What?
Sanitation permit being expired.
No, it's a violation.
Yeah, that's my thing. They just now started this intense scrutiny because we, as managers from Hollywood, we called the board member and said, if you're gonna check my shop this religiously, like at 3 days, 3 times in 5 days, you better go check everybody else on this island. Because if I find out that I'm the only person,
You guys?
yes, and that's when the scrutiny started. I've never heard of them shutting down anybody till just this week. My coworker from another shop, 3 years they never checked. Just this last week they checked. 2 expired licenses. And yet I'm the person they keep in check.
Lack of a sanitation permit.
But they also didn't follow due process.
They didn't follow the process.
You have to give them a notice.
Yes.
You have to give them a piece of paper saying that they violated
It's
this.
a warning, correct.
There is none of this paperwork that exists.
So far what you have is Chamorro Land Trust, Guam Board of Medical Examiners, Guam Board of Allied Health, Cosmetology,
Nursing board,
Nursing Board,
pharmacy board, Marby is not here.
Commission, and Land Management. So that's, yeah.
I mean,
I
pharmacy,
get the class action law, so that's kind of good. I get it.
Marby works for Emerald Pharmacy, Emerald Wholesale. And they are the new big competitor to MD Wholesale. Okay? And MD Wholesale's on the board, wouldn't recuse themselves, and tried to get all her invoices to find out where she's buying all her drugs for less than they are. And their big complaint against her was she's undercutting all their prices. Yes, it's called competition. And Dr. Guzman is the one who's setting up this pharmacy.
So you guys have gone to the committees, to the senators, to everything, so the last recourse is.
This is becoming our last recourse. We're going to the lawsuits now. We're going to sue the living daylights.
I can't
I've
even
tried to
get
stay
an
away from
attorney to
lawsuits
return my phone call.
because it's only going to cost
The
people
board of
more money.
cosmetology is so intimidating. No attorney on island. One told me straight up, nobody's gonna take your case, and hung up on me. So I mean, for the board of cosmetology, I mean, these doctors
So
and
who's the
I'm
attorney that you have now?
Mark Smith, but he just represented one person because his legal fees are just extremely high. And like I told you, Vietnamese people, we're deadly afraid of authorities. We come from a communist country where there are no laws. So we're conditioned to believe that rules are on paper, great, but nobody follows it. So what you gonna do? That's how we are conditioned. So that's why,
Those are the people who
and that's why there's not 50,000 people behind you because this doesn't matter. What the rules say, dual process, you need to give me a notice before you revoke my license. It doesn't matter. You walk in, you take the license off the board, you say, I'm going to shut you down. That's how they got my license. Not my license, but my two coworkers who don't speak English, one's Korean, one's Vietnamese. If you want to talk about discrimination, that's discrimination. They don't deserve a phone call. The phone call one person got was, you got 20 minutes to get out of your shop. And 20 minutes they came down, took their license off the board. Because it was given out as a mistake. That's not how you treat people. And you especially don't treat people that cannot defend themselves that way. Especially if you're a board member. You're not elected to harass me.
So what was this thing about in 2010?
2010, Senator Tina introduced an act that revised the Act of 2006, I think, that made the NIC, which is the National Interstate Council of 38 states.
Shutting them down instantly. And they've been in their shop regular for 3 to 5 times a week. And they're Hollywood nails.
Or it didn't?
You're at both malls
Both
and that's it.
relocation, yes.
3 locations.
Which the third?
There's 2 at the Micronesian Mall,
Mall. 2 at Micronesian.
one upstairs, one downstairs. One next to
Governing body there is the cosmetology.
Cosmetology Board, which is under the supervision of NIC, the National Interstate Council, which is 38 states and 2 territories. It governs all of the rules governing Board of Cosmetology. And they don't even want to do business with the Board of Cosmetology here. Within the last year, we have no examination from NIC. They won't give it. Because they cannot get approval by NIC, because they're not following regulations.
Remember the exam they did take, but they wouldn't send it in because they didn't pay the bills?
Exactly. We waited 3 months for our result, and in those 3 months, you are legally not allowed to work because I'm waiting for the board to do their job. So people got bills to pay. They can't wait for a board to do their job 3 months later.
The board said they didn't have the money to send in
I
a
don't
test
care what
that
they
people had
say.
already paid for.
Then stop harassing me about having my license work without a sponsor. And the main thing I have with the Board of Cosmetology, they told me repeatedly, one manicurist can sponsor one apprentice. I have read the rules backward and forward. It does not say this in the rules. Where did they get this rule from? I've asked backward and forward. Let me see all the rules that you have passed from the legislator and from your own board. You don't have to together and make up their own rules. Give me a list. This was the list I was given. Public Law 30, 152. I read that law backward and forward. I'm not an attorney, but it's written in a way that I can understand. Senator Tina made it pretty easy to read. It doesn't say anywhere in the document that one can only sponsor one. 1-to-1 ratio. It does not exist in the law. So where are they making this rule up from? Just to harass me?
Chair for you right here. Yeah, just spotlight today,
Thanks,
sir.
sir.
I don't. I'm sorry, guys. I got to save that here. Thank you very much. We're just waiting for the last. Dr. Martinez, he did say he'll be here any minute now, and then we'll get to it. And we also do have a sign-in sheet on site if you guys would like to leave your email address or
I'm not
phone
sure.
numbers to be in direct contact. Feel free to write your email on your way out, on your way in.
Maybe not. We have the only video though. If you don't want to be on, you can make sure you're not. Yeah.
And actually, this is a personal video camera. It's not, won't be released to anything until after I get all you guys' personal views. You guys can get copies if you guys want or whatever. So you guys don't have to worry about that. Once again, Dr. Martinez did ask for us to wait just for a minute. He had a last minute patient. He'll be in momentarily. He said 10 minutes, about 10 minutes ago. So.
Something else that people haven't really mentioned is
Yeah.
everybody realizes that all these new businesses and et cetera have a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of pressure put on them. Why is this happening? It shouldn't be this hard. People everywhere are warned about opening businesses here in Guam. Everybody's afraid of retribution. If you read Guam law, you hear they come out straight out and say, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get this, etc. people have threatened me. Why is there all this retribution? This is America. My friends, my family have died for this freedom. More tomorrows than a percentage have served in our armed forces, I understand, than any other nationality. And they fought for this freedom. Why is our government here denying it to us?
We don't want to fight. We don't want to fight with the board. We just want them to help us do our business instead of prosecuting us. That's all.
All I want is
That's
a
all.
level playing field. That's all I've ever asked for. A level playing field. Same rules apply for everyone.
Exactly. Different rules apply to different people.
I have a question. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Guam, but are you talking about my business or my family?
Your background.
Okay, my name is Pete Perez. I own a salon. I was handed the salon because my mom passed away, and my dad is ill right now. So I'm running the business. I'm totally new to it. I've dealt from the IRS to GRT, now with the Board of Cosmetology. They came in. I can't really talk much about it because I do want to probably look into a suit, file a suit against the AG's office, with the AG's office on how they wanted to close me down.
So you're talking about a separate suit, or is this?
This is what I haven't talked to because I know him because one of my employees is dating his employee, so that's how we know each other. And things I've been hearing too, but going back to my family, it's a family business. We've been in existence for over 25 years. I'm at the Micronesia Mall, and just alone right there, the rent is very expensive. My dad has cirrhosis of the liver, and I help fund his medicine until we can get a donor. He's out on the mainland, but they were going to shut me down for 9 days at the Micronesia Mall. I can't do it. And there's some people, senators, that did help me out, you know.
So they had to personally intervene to get them to do.
See, it's how they did it, and he told me about the due process, and I read up on it, and it's like, you know, they're threatening my livelihood, you know, and that's why I'm here. But senators helped me out, but the senator that did help me out wasn't even in charge of this department.
Who was the senator?
Oh, see. Tina's the only, Senator Tina's the only one that even bothers to pick up the phone half the time.
So what's going to happen to your business now?
Well, it is open.
Are you going to the board meeting on Monday?
Yes, I'm going to.
Okay, well, we'll see each other there.
The thing is, they haven't given the cosmetologist exam for the past year and a half, 2 years. And I have more apprentice than cosmetologists.
Exactly.
I have a business that is open from 10 to 9, 7 days a week. And I basically need 2 shifts. So I need employees. And now I had to release 4 of them. And they have children and one's pregnant. So, you know.
Did they tell you that cosmetologists can sponsor only one apprentice?
Yes.
See, they told us 2. They told me, it depends on who you ask. If nobody has
What does the regulation
nothing,
say?
it doesn't say anything. It says an apprentice needs a sponsor. It doesn't say 1, it doesn't say 2, it doesn't say 3, it doesn't say one person cannot have 2 sponsors. But yet I was told that. And so finally I read up on the law, and the law that the Senator Tina got passed in 2010 does not state how many people can sponsor how many apprentices. The board changes their mind. 3 years ago, my mom managed to sponsor 2 people. Now, only 1. No law, no notice, website is completely empty. Nothing.
Excuse me, I know I understand we're still waiting for 1 month. Is it okay if we officially start and we can start asking questions? Is that right?
That is fine with us. We will just have Dr. Martinez go last. Okay, we'll have him go last. Which one? Oh, you're speaking.
I'm sorry. No, but I'm just wondering if we can start asking shipping questions.
Okay.
Well, I thought we were sort of doing it.
When you're open, to, yeah.
Did you want to be seated on this side?
Oh, no. No, can we just, yes, you do. Okay, I'm recording anyway. So, okay, we're talking all about these grievances. What exactly are we here for? What course of action are you taking, if any?
Do you want to take this, Ruha, or you want me to? This is Ruha Sabeti. Sabeti family, whatever. She's my administrative assistant now, and she's going to be doing a lot of the work and doing a lot of contact with you. We're here because a bunch of people have approached me and said, what can we do about these things that are happening to us? The boards here on Guam are basically persecuting us. And I'm going to use that word, and if you don't like that word, I honestly believe that's what they're doing at this point. They're selecting individuals to go after. And there's several things I find that are consistent between the people they go after. They're always the lowest cost, the people with lower prices, or the people that are not very well locally connected. And in some cases, that can even be defined as racially motivated. Okay, and we are exploring those avenues. We're exploring avenues against the federal right to work law, because our own government here is intimidating us and doing illegal things to prevent us from performing our jobs. The boards, in particular, are making it very hard to do things, and the problem is the boards are acting illegally. They are not following the laws that are set up from how they are to do things. Okay? And we've all gotten together as a group because these are the people that are willing to stand up and have realized, even if they try to compromise with these boards, there is no compromise. Okay? They've realized these boards will not compromise. What they are here for is to run us out of business.
Okay, so these boards, namely,
Well, we got Guam Board of Allied Health, Guam Board of Cosmetology, the chiropractors, they're also Guam Board of Allied Health, the Pharmacy Board. Marby from Emerald Wholesale, I guess, couldn't make it today. But they have the same problem. Okay? And there's one senator who's in charge of all these boards, and that is Senator Rodriguez, and he has refused to deal with any of this. Nothing, won't talk to us, won't do anything, will give us a little lip service or let us talk to an assistant, and won't do any follow-up. The other person I believe that's involved in this is the Chief Health and Safety Officer on the island. Okay? And that would be Ray Tenorio. Okay? And what I honestly believe all these people are doing, from the top down to the boards, and especially the boards, is they are being bullies. And we just had this whole thing in the news media about bullying at the schools. Well, if you don't want your children to bully, I apologize. If you don't want the children to be bullies, why don't we stop it from the level of adults in the government? Because they're learning it from our government. They are bullying us. So, would you do you want to say or something?
One question.
Okay.
So what's the issue then? You were mentioning earlier before things got started, putting all of these things together for one big lawsuit, the doctor, medical.
Yes.
Are you guys going to do that this year? Like, is that something you're planning?
Well, we're planning to do it hopefully fairly soon. We got the right to work law, we got the racially motivated aspect, and that's something that we're working on. But we are definitely not going to pull our punches anymore. Through the years, I have decided not to prosecute, because then the people of Guam pay for the prosecution, people of Guam pay for the this and that, and the people of Guam then are the losers. And at this point, the people of Guam have spent $1 million just on the fight against me. I mean, there's 11 court decisions, 6 trials, 6 appeals. I mean, if you don't believe that $500,000 to $1 million has been spent, you don't know the legal costs. Okay? So we're going to be going after this, and yes, it's going to be taking money away from the people of Guam. And the people of Guam are going to be the losers on this. But hopefully in the long run, they will be the winners. Because with the lawsuits, we're going to force the government, just like they had to do with our tax returns, to actually do things legally.
Did you ever file an open government lawsuit?
I have filed, we've pursued the open government law, and we've been pursuing this right at this point in time with the Department of Agriculture. We have asked them 3 weeks in a row with FOIA requests to release the information of what is required for an inspection of quarantine. They have been unable to answer our questions. We have asked them for documents regarding the weekly inspections of the quarantine facility, and I will put it bluntly, Dr. Poole forged a whole bunch of these, and he only did about 7 or 8 for an entire year. And we have demonstration of proof of what I think is forgery on these. This is a public health and welfare issue when we're dealing with quarantine. Okay?
You say you have what you think is forgery.
Yes.
You didn't say that you think it's forgery. You said it's forgery.
I believe it's forgery. Okay? And I can prove it's not a valid inspection. Because the law...
There's a big step between saying it's not a valid inspection and saying the doctor forged the documents and forged signatures on the documents.
No, he didn't forge any signatures.
What did he forge?
Forged the inspection report. He faked the inspection report. Okay? That's actually a more technically proper term. Okay? And what do I mean by faked it? The last 4 of these inspection reports, there's like 4 or 5 points that he makes. Item number 2 is changed on them. Like he had to hurry up and get it done before the FOIA request time was over. Okay? They are not signed. He didn't even sign them. The law says he has to sign them, the facility owner has to sign it, and it has to be posted. I'll bet you if you go down to Harper Quarantine, you will find no posting of any quarantine inspection.
Apparently, you all have different issues.
Yes.
And you're talking about the lawsuit, a class action. What exactly is it going to be? What's the lawsuit going to be about?
Well, we're getting together to actually determine that. Okay? That's part of what we're all getting together for and working with legal authorities on how to do this. Okay? But there's going to be some lawsuits against the government of Guam. Okay? More than that, I'm trying to tell you, I can't tell you.
I'm trying to figure out something, though. Have you ever pursued an open government lawsuit against Guam? Because it sounds like that's what you're talking about. You know, is that where you're going? Or
That's one of them.
Has somebody tried that yet?
Oh, well, that's one of them. And part of the reason we're going to go after the open government lawsuit is we have 2 court decisions that literally state that the Guam Board of Allied Health Examiners violated the open government law. And we have 2 more that are sitting on these judges' desks that have refused to finish dealing with them, that are also open government law violations, exactly the same as the 2 preceding it. Okay?
Dr. Joseph, I have a question. When you talk about the quarantine facility and how it's a public concern, what exactly are those? What should the public be concerned about, and what do you think Dennis Rodriguez and those who have oversight of the Guam Board of Allied Health? What do you
Part of the
think
thing that they should be worried about is, 1, animal cruelty. Dr. Meadows wrote a letter that has already been circulated a year or 2 ago about how her poodle was shoved into a really small cage. It doesn't sound bad when you say a poodle shoved into a small cage, but we're talking about a standard poodle. By definition, if you put the animals in a cage that is too small, that is animal cruelty. We have laws that state what size a cage is supposed to be, and those were determined by animal welfare acts. And for the government veterinarian to state that, oh, it doesn't meet those sizes when the animal has to stay there for 120 days, I'm sorry, that still equates as animal cruelty. Public health and welfare. CDC states that the only way an island like us is going to get rabies, I shouldn't say, the most likely methods that an island like us will get rabies is A, through return to virulence of a vaccine. In other words, giving vaccines that will then cause disease. And anybody who's been in the military or knows military people understands that sooner or later, some of the vaccines do cause disease. Okay, it happens with a lot of our military folk because they get a lot of vaccines. Vaccines do revert to virulence. They do occasionally cause disease. And that is one method that we will get rabies on this island. We are the only rabies-free island in the world that vaccinates for rabies. I have to go through a lot of hoops to take any rabies vaccine onto any other island.
But don't people need vaccines for taking their pets off island?
But you need your vaccine to take them off island. And that's not exactly true. Okay? You can sign a piece of paper that you're going to get it once you get there. And then you legally have to get it. Okay? However, rabies vaccines, to me, personally, are worth over $60,000 a year. To the smaller practitioners, they're worth $30,000 or so. Okay? And there's a lot of crazy things going on with it. In order to give a rabies vaccine, you need to do an examination to make sure the animal's healthy. Because if you give a rabies vaccine to an ill animal, what happens is you have a greater chance of a return to virulence. And we have these rabies-free clinics where they're getting absolutely no consultations and no examinations. Okay? And the reason they can't do a consultation or examination is the law says you're not allowed to do one for free.
I hate to interrupt you, but
Yeah, sorry.
since we're such a small group here, dude, we've heard this before.
Yeah.
This has been like years and years with you. You know, I'm more personally interested in the meat. Like this lawsuit you guys are talking about, I want to know more about that. I mean, what you were saying earlier, the land trust, the doctors, you guys, the election commission thing from 2010, that's more interesting. I want to know about that. Are you, I mean, like, what do you guys have planned? When? Like,
When? That's up to the legal authorities and the team on how we got together on this. And can't exactly let all that stuff out.
This is just to let people know you're doing it, to join you or something?
Either to let people understand that there are a bunch of us willing to stand up and fight the government openly, and you know we know that there's going to be retribution. Doesn't matter; they're already retributing against us. Retributing.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of retribution, why are
Well,
you?
I'm gonna meet with the board, and Tina has spoken to me about changes, you know, from the 1-to-1. In my establishment, I have 6 sinks. I think I have more just for the customers alone. That's part of the public health law. I don't know why I need that. Sinks, hand sinks for the customers. By law, it's every 3 stations, any type of workstation from a massage or a wax table, manicure table, to in a hairstyling station, every 3 stations to 1 sink. And it's just more, to me, it's more money. I mean, I'll be honest with you, these sinks are hardly ever used by the customer.
So your lawsuit wasn't about open government, it was about changing regulations?
Changing some regulations and laws, and I just trying to find out more. Does not a board of cosmetologists, how much jurisdiction do they have? Do they have that 24-hour on call? Because when she came in, it was on a Sunday. And do they have that jurisdiction, or are they on the Guam time? I mean, the government of Guam hours when they came in? I mean, when they're supposed to come in.
They shut you down immediately?
See, the whole thing about it is they didn't give me no citation, no type of warning to process, and I shut down and I lost revenue, and I want to know the proper procedure how to close the salon down. And when the lady,
Regulations say.
huh?
What do the regulations say?
That's what I'm looking at. That's what I've been looking at, and I've been talking to people. Tina is going to meet with me. She wants to get a lot of this straightened out, from the 1-to-1 cosmetologist to apprentice, the sink violations to public health, just different things.
But why you? I don't understand. Why you? Public health already says they don't have enough people to go check massage parlors where we know process.
Yeah, the public health didn't
Why
come
come
down.
Why?
Matter of fact, it's how they did it, and that's why I don't really want to. It's how that lady enforced me to shut down.
What lady?
her name is
Janet? They're known by Janet Lee.
Yeah, she said a couple names that to shut me down, and none of them are. One of them is the Board of Cosmetologists.
That's where she's from?
Yeah, who is she? Who does she represent, or where does she work? Or
She's
what's
the
her-
newest board member of the Cosmetology Board.
So
Her
she's
name
her-
is Janet, but I don't know her last name.
Yeah.
She also known by Janet in Agana.
Yeah.
She's a member of the cosmetology
Yes.
board, that she's been nominated by somebody?
We have no idea.
Approved by the legislature?
The thing about the Board of Cosmetology, and I think he's new to the business, correct?
No, I'm new because I took over my parents, but we've been in existence for over 25 years.
We've been on
But they
Island
have
for 40
rules.
years.
How did she get on the board?
Yeah, see, I don't know anything about that, but I heard she was appointed. That's what I was hearing, but I don't know if it's true or I can't even
The Board
say.
of Cosmetology has a website in which nothing is posted. If you go to the Board of Cosmetology website right now, there's absolutely nothing on it. Absolutely nothing.
Okay, I'm a little slow,
I believe the
but
board
there's
is,
got to be regulations somewhere, even on.
Yeah, they have to.
Yes.
They has to be, and that's the only thing I'm trying to find
They're not
out.
giving it to you. You asked for it. It's something like giving it to you. Is that it?
See, I knew when she hit me, I'd never been, in this
It's
position.
just, it's my fault for being late, but I know who you are. Do you want to get Kelly with me?
When?
What establishment do you
I'm from
represent?
Hollywood Nails. Hollywood Nails in Agani Shopping Center and Michelangelo Mall.
Okay.
Mr.
And Mr. Paris,
sorry,
Peter
yes.
Paris from where?
I have a salon over at Micronesia Mall,
What is it called?
Studio 211.
Is it the one by the theater?
Yes.
Oh, my neighbors.
I believe the board is,
Yeah.
to answer your question, I believe the board is appointed by the governor, although I do not know whether or not the cosmetology board has to be confirmed by the legislature.
Now, my question is like you guys have a lot of complaints and you're making a lot of noise. How much work did you actually do in trying to find out what rules are in place? I mean, there has to be something written.
No, no, of course.
Yes.
I've read the rules that Senator Tina passed in 2010. The Chapter 18.
That's a law.
that's a law.
Not the regulations that the board has followed. That's the law. Does that law detail the regulations for the board?
That law states how the board will function. That law that was passed.
And when they don't follow that,
To the
that
T,
you're
no.
saying you're supposed to go to the oversight and no one's going there.
I've tried to call
Have you
all
asked
the
them?
I've tried to call all the senators, and like I told you, I get the runaround. They tell me they'll call me back. Nobody calls me back. I've talked to Senator, like I said, Senator Tina is the only person that has actually picked up the phone, and that's even why the act was passed. The act of 2010 was passed based on Senator Tina's recommendation.
If I can just add,
Yeah.
and Kelly, have you spoken with Karina Fahari?
I know who she is. Yes, I do. My wife knows who she is. I believe they're starting their own group.
Well, I had an initial conversation with her. I work for Speaker Judy Tijuana, and she doesn't have jurisdiction over that area, but because Karina had pushed the issue and was persistent enough to educate me on the matter, I met with her on at least 3 different occasions, which resulted in a roundtable that Speaker Wamp had requested with Senator Rodriguez. So the results of the roundtable are available. I'd be happy to share that with you. But it didn't end there. I sat with Karina, probably invested maybe 30 to 45 hours with her and her team. Not only did I sit with her and take copious notes, your issues are deep and wide with that board. It's a completely dysfunctional board. But I also helped author the legislation that would revise them. The act that Senator Barnes had actually amended. Okay?
Yes.
And so there's existing draft legislation on her desk, so to speak.
Okay.
My recommendation would be, you need to concerted your efforts. Karina Fahari, she's not necessarily the leader, but she also has networked with at least 15 other professionals in the industry. And I could spend a whole hour detailing some of the infractions of the Board of the Barbering and Cosmetology Board. Okay, and we're talking personality conflicts and violations of
Yes,
law.
conflict of
And
interest,
it's
right.
long,
Yes.
and I have.
Question. You wrote the law.
No,
What is it for you? You're familiar with it. What mechanisms are in the law for taking care of those guys who don't follow it?
Yeah, that part I don't
Anything there?
know. But here's what I do know, that there are certain arbitrary applications of the law that the board has put into effect. And again, I can talk to you for a whole hour on it because there are many things. For example, we're talking about the continuing education credit requirement, right? they arbitrarily went ahead and in consultation with the original, one of the primary authors of the first ad, Joseph Argel Cameron, they had made an internal decision to go from 6 hours, which is I believe the requirement now, to go ahead and accept 2 hours of CEs. Then there's a whole other issue in terms of making the classes that are acceptable by the board public information for other practitioners to go ahead and sign up for. Because from what I've heard from at least 11 of the 15 other folks in your industry, is that they'll take a course online, for example, and then go to the board or petition the board even prior to taking the course and then be denied. And so their continuing education credit wouldn't be accepted and
Yeah, it was
their
a very,
license.
yes, it was
And
very
so I had
difficult.
people in our office crying because young ones out of the GCC at
Yes.
the time were finishing this program, but their hours in practice weren't being on, and so forth and so
Yes.
forth. But
Their
again,
livelihood are being taken away from them.
right.
That's
So
the
they're
bottom
actually
line.
what happens is technically they're reduced from a certain status to a
Exactly.
particular non-practitioner
Because-
status. Like forgot the legal term, but there is a definition. And again, my point is I don't lose my point. Would be I'd be happy to sit down with you
Yes.
and get you all back together at the table, because not only they're associating formally, they're forming an association to bring this to a different level, right? To petition the government through the executive branch in particular, who has direct appointment by law over that board. And there are issues with the qualifications of those members who sit on the board, and I think you know
Correct.
who those people are too.
And overstaying their term.
So there is draft legislation. I'd be happy to give you my card after the meeting, or
Yes,
we take a
definitely.
break, and I'll email you the draft legislation. With respect to Dr. Joseph and the new gentleman, I'm not privy to what your issues are, other than there's been some retribution against your establishment. She was kind enough to fill me in for about 15 to 20 minutes offline at another venue about your situation. And so your next meeting with another senator, I'd be happy to sit down with you. But I really do believe that senators would be willing to listen to your plight if we were clear in terms of what the problem was, and you were clear in terms of what kind of remedy you were possibly seeking.
I don't want to fight with the Board of Cosmetology. I can't speak for these two individuals, but I'm sure he and I, we both feel that going against the Board of Cosmetology is not a good scenario to put yourself in as a business owner. Because as a manicurist, if they can take away my license, I can go back to the state, no problem. But as a business owner, when they threaten to shut down my business, that's my life they're trying to take away. Not just my livelihood, because I can make the same amount of money here in Guam, somewhere else, if not better, with less headaches. When I get a license from the Board of Cosmetology here, I have to wait according to their will. When they want to give me their license, if they feel like it. 18 months my coworker's been waiting. 18 months. In other states, 18 days, you get an answer, yes or no. No, this is why we're denying you. Yes, here you go. That's it, 18 days. $25 fee, you're done. Here, 18 months. We have to go and pay $3,000 for an attorney fee to get what? To get a license.
Can I add one more thing? Yeah. I also, as a result of that situation, because what would happen is these people would go to the board, Karina Fahari, a whole bunch of them, I have their names, I don't know all their names, I can't remember. But I wrote legislation for Dr. Wong, and it's the right to petition a public board. Because as it stands, some of these government boards don't have a grievance procedure.
Correct.
So this law would require them to have a grievance procedure where they can, what happened to them in a prior venue, in another venue prior meeting, is they asked them to leave the public meeting.
You do. That's us to leave all the time.
Yeah, you can't.
Not
You
only
cannot
that,
say.
but they wanted to bring their concern to the table, and they were denied. So
Exactly.
this legislation, again, I'll be happy to show it to you, would require by public law that a grievance procedure be established within 90 days, and that they have to at least hear it and publish it as a matter of public record.
Thank you.
So you
That's
need
all we
that.
ask.
look at that.
That's all we want from
Yeah,
the board.
see, when she told me to close down,
They love it gently.
one of the persons she said was, I'm not want to say his name, but he's not even part of, well, he works for public health, but he's not an inspector, and she used his name. Then he's on the other side of my establishment looking into my business to see if he's operating. I didn't get no citation. I didn't get no warning. What do I need to change? This. I admit I didn't do the establishment and the sanitary, and I did fix it. Okay, I took care of that. So they had a reason, but they didn't write me up for nothing. And they're using people's name to tell me to shut down, and they're not even an inspector. I went to public health and I spoke to them. They said, if you have over 41 or more demerits, that's when they will shut you down. But they didn't shut me down, but she was using his name.
It's just an abuse
You know,
of power.
there's a lot of things right there that's what I'm looking into. How do you handle it? Do they have that jurisdiction? Is this a threat what they're doing to me? You know, there's a lot of things that I have to look into. And
I just have to add on to that because the same board member, my gent lady, she came to our shop, she inspected it, she has the right to do so. But then she gave her cell phone to her spouse, who was not a staff, not a board member, not affiliated. He proceeded to start taking pictures of all my coworkers as if they're doing something illegal. And then when my coworker said, "Why did you take my picture? You don't have that right." Her answer was, "Don't worry, it won't be public." And then she walks away. That is the type of treatment that we receive from the board for the last year and a half in my business. For the last year and a half, I pinpointed exactly that one because we know that we have a conflict of interest with the Board of Cost Consumption. We know why they don't like us. We know, and we know when it started and how it started, a year and a half ago. But enough is enough. Either you shut me down so I can move on, or you let me do my work. Pick one. But you can't continue to harass me this way. My coworkers are in tears. They are unemployed. They went to school. They paid their fees. They're out of work. They can't afford a lawyer. They don't speak English. They can't read the laws. They don't know their rights. So therefore, they have none.
If I can share something. That harassment issue is something maybe we can have another discussion on. By the way, there's some folks here, I don't know the injuries, such as Senator Palash's office. But if I can share some positive energy, and this is not this is not good enough of a reason for that public board to behave that way. But if you've been to the facility, that one office that's administered out of the Department of Public Health, and maybe you might know more former deputy director, staff like by one or two people for, I don't know, maybe 7 to 11 boards. Now that's not a good enough of a reason to handle business that way, but Karina and her friends and others in the industry are getting together because if they have a fee, for example, I'm not promoting this, I'm just making you aware of what they're trying to do. They can hire their own staff that will follow up on the certification requirements, give you reminders, list the courses, and frankly, work with the state agency, the current administrators of the national exam. Right? There's an exam that this board administers, but it was done 18 months ago.
Yes,
That they would
18
do on
months they had an
behalf and in
18
concert with
months.
the board. And that's something to think about because what happens is you start to remove that concentration of power and
Just think about it. 18 months they don't give exam. Then they fine you for not having your license.
Yeah.
How can I get my license if you won't let me take an exam? I don't understand. And the sponsorship, my main problem is this. It should be a partnership between the board and us. Members that they are trying to oversee. Members that they are trying to regulate. It should not be this dynamic between our relationship is dysfunctional. And it's not healthy. And it's not productive to the people of Guam. We come here, we open our salons, we provide affordable services to the masses. 14 years ago, name one nail shop on this island, besides Hollywood now. None. They were charging $40, $50 for a pedicure. We came here, dropped the price on to $20. We've been a target. Why? Not the first stop, not the second shop, not the third shop. But when our business finally started to grow and our competitors started to see that we provide a good business, we have a good structure, we provide good customer care, we provide at an affordable cost, we attract more and more and more customers. Then all of a sudden we become a conflict of interest with people on the board. Now they want to shut us down. Why? Because we're good at what we do. And we do it legally. And now they're legally withholding license from us. They're legally not giving our apprentices exams so they can take their license and become free. Because to work underneath somebody's sponsorship, do you know that people are taking money for that now? What is the financial motivation for me to sponsor an apprentice? When I sponsor her, she and I work in the same shop. When somebody walks in that shop, we have to take turns because we work on a commission base. So when one person walks in that shop, I now have to share my customer with her. If she does not exist in my shop, all the people that walk in that shop, I work. I make money. So what is the financial motivation do I have if I'm not related to her, if I'm not her friend, to sponsor her? None. I have cosmetologists and I have licensed manicurists who tell me I don't want to sponsor anybody. I can't make them. So now I can't hire an apprentice and I have to keep a coworker who's cold-blooded, who doesn't care if they die or whatever. Hey, as long as she's making her money, she's good. And the board can't do anything about it. And the board is not helping me. And people who go to school, pay their fees, get their education the legal way, have no jobs. and now we're
Excuse
underpaid.
me, I'd like to hear Dr. Martinez, what's your issue?
My issue? Well, I had a couple things written down here. I'm a chiropractor. I've been here for 4 years this month, since November of 2008. And I've been in practice in Dedado, in the Compadres Mall, and also most recently here in the Ganya Shopping Center. I have no relation to anyone here in Guam, so I'm relatively new. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues in my field here as a chiropractor. It's a very tightly knit group. And basically I have three things. I've been subject to having to spend a lot of my time, energy, and money with attorneys to fend off frivolous, not even pertinent issues according to my practice as a chiropractor. I've had them, and these are personal.
From who?
These are actually other chiropractors. What they do is they either take their complaints to the Allied Health Board, which shares the same board in which his jurisdiction is a veterinarian, and basically using and abusing their privileges to enforce frivolous and personal issues. And I can go into more specifics, but I've had to invest tens of thousands of dollars of my time, energy, and resources to fend off these things that should never have ever been come to the table. And then I'll tell you why. The reason being is because of personal issues. There's a high level of vindictiveness because of the fact that I'm a successful practitioner, come from the mainland, making a lot of money here, and they're looking down the street. What is he doing here? He's only been here for a year, and I'm already sucking up a lot of business from people who otherwise would go by default because there's only a handful of chiropractors now come to my shop. Well, in the last 2 years, I've tried to sponsor 2 doctors with legitimate credentials, and guess what? Every time they come in, they get their applications either shot down or somebody goes digging deep into either their juvenile records. Okay, and the last doctor that I did talk to was a juvenile, and they went to juvenile records, okay, looking for something. He came with a clean record. Before he comes in, I check and make sure that there isn't anything that would prevent them from being professionally licensed anywhere. And so this doctor being credentialed in Illinois, the state of Illinois, okay, comes here to work for me when I'm about to leave to my wedding. I'm going to leave for a month. Well, guess what? I get to leave at least a week ahead of time, so that way we can deal with the board meeting. Well, guess what? They delayed the board meeting a week. The day of I'm supposed to depart, they bring up his application. They deny it. Okay. They could have done this the month before or the week before, and then I would have been able to change plans. Well, guess what? They didn't. And this is not the first time. This is the second time it's happened. Okay. And whether by design or coincidence, it doesn't matter. I had to shut down my business, the chiropractor, put at risk the jeopardy of my patients for a month because of what? Because I have a couple of chiropractors who decided that I am not good for Guam, and that I'm and these ridiculous, what I consider a coalition of people, professionals would consider my peers who I thought were would support me in my business. No, it's business, and then it comes down to this. I hate to use the word, but cronyism. Okay, and that's protect their own. And there's a couple families here that protect their own on the board, protecting another doctor who's been accused allegedly of not only incompetence but also sexually harassing his employees, and women who have actually reported, documented to the police. And did that ever come up to the AG?
That's
And never did.
marking, right?
Okay, I'm not going to comment on that.
You need to be more specific, though. Are these people members of the board?
Is Dr. Martinez
Yes,
on the
well,
board?
yes. Well, his brother's on the board. He is not on the board, but he shows up to the meetings every time, along to bring up these charges. Now, I've been towing the line here for 4 years. I'm working hard, and I'm just tired of it, because one thing that I want to do is I want to bring a different level of competency as far as what I do as a chiropractor is important to my patients, and then when I cannot provide those services because I'm being told that your license is in jeopardy because your reputation And you go through, you can go in the minutes, they'll bring up things that have absolutely nothing to do with me as a doctor. You know, just personal, vindictive things that come up that are all hearsay, you know, and you go through this, it's like, what is this? This is a circus. You're spending money from the people, taxpayer money, wasting the time on the board for what? So they're the agenda. I'd love to see them in court so we can deal with this face to face, or an arbitration with an ophthalmologist. I'd love to be able to go in a place where we can work things out, but it's not that way. And I'll tell you, after 4 years of this, it's enough. And for me to go on the defensive now, I probably will. And I'm probably going to drag these people through the mud, through the court system in which it should be done, not in the forum of the board or the Allied Health Board, because that is just a waste of time. They need to be focusing on the true pertinent issues, which is making sure you have competent doctors and practitioners that are practicing and making sure they get relicensed. And I'll tell you what, I've been picked out of the crowd. I've been one of 4 new practitioners, new doctors, new chiropractors that have been harassed. And I can go through each of their names. All of them would love to be here, but they're not, because they're not licensed anymore, or had their license either revoked or not renewed. And that's
Have they left the island as a result?
one of the doctors, his wife is still living with me. He would love to come back. Okay, the other doctor's in Saipan right now. Okay, who I originally brought over, and he's had to delay his entry back into Guam because they're saying, well, you have a juvenile record showing that you did not disclose. Okay, well, somebody was digging in a little too deep, and I'll tell you, if they're digging into juvenile records, that's supposed to be sealed.
Is that part of the is that one of the regulations?
Okay, part of the regulations in the application, they're only supposed to, I believe that what's written is they have to go to the local sheriff or local precinct and show that they have a clear record. Okay, in this case, he did prove that to me, and he did submit that ahead of time. Well, somebody took the extra time to go into other things, into personal Facebook, actually even harassing and digging in anonymously into his relationship with his supporting spouse or girlfriend, and digging up stuff, and then finally getting to his juvenile record. Who has the time and the energy to do this? Someone who has too much time on their hands, someone who has an agenda, and then someone who's vindictive. And I'll tell you what, that doctor, who that person is, or whoever that is, okay, needs to come forward, because whenever I ask for this information, it says, no, we can't disclose that. But where's the Freedom of Information Act here? If you're going to accuse me, I want to know who my accusers are. And I have a young doctor who's been chomping at the bit to come to work. I have to send this Saipan to work until he supposedly shows that he's in good behavior. And that, something that happened when he's a juvenile, it's irrelevant, because the thing is, he's licensed in other states where they've shown that he is capable and qualifies to practice in their states.
Do you have any problem with Saipan practice?
Yeah, they issued the license within a week. Okay, and I kid you
Did
not.
you take this to Dennis Rodriguez again? Oversight?
Yes.
Dennis Rodriguez, same oversight.
Did you contact him? Have you tried to go
Well,
outside? of the
this
board?
is, I didn't participate in the oversight hearing, the last one. I just got married and busy kind of making sure that I have a life.
Does he know about this case?
Now, this case, no, because it's new, because it's been within the last 3 months since this has come up. Now, I'm going to bring it up, okay, and I'm going to make sure that it gets taken care of, because for every time I bring another doctor, and I'm going to continue to bring doctors here, and I'm going to continue to do this because I have a business to run, okay,
I
just like
totally
you guys,
agree with
okay?
him.
And I'm going to tell you, I should have no reason to fear to bring someone out here and have them jeopardize my way of living, okay? And to bring competent doctors so that way people don't have to jump ship to go somewhere else.
I completely agree with him 100% because I have the same problem he has. Now I just realized because hearing him. I cannot bring manicures from the States to this island. I cannot because the board holds their license for 18 months. They refuse to either deny or to issue. They hold me in limbo. They don't tell me my permission is denied and they won't give me that license. They just hold me in limbo for 18 months. And now this person is leaving. He's about to get his license. Now after 18 months, he can't take it anymore. He's leaving. He can't work this way. I have to replace them. I have to, like you say, I have to bring competent managers to this island. The reason we are successful is because we're good at what we do. And I need to find people that are good at what they do from the States, because I can't find here locally. I need to find people that I can hire from the States and bring to Guam. However, they need to have a license before they work, correct? When I submit their application to the board, if it's from Hollywood Nails, good luck.
I would like to expound on that.
And then that's the point.
And that's my same problem with them. I can't bring
Dr.
competent
Miles.
employees here.
Who just left my practice. Okay, before he got here, the board called him up. The chairman of the board called him up with information supplied by Velma Harper and told him that I was a schmuck, I was not a good person, that I had all this stuff against me. Okay, he looked me up in Michigan and on my record in Michigan, he came anyways. They chased him off the island. He left April 26th with the board telling him that they would make sure that he lost his license, he would never practice anywhere again. He has 5 children and a wife. He left. Dr. Melissa Leaf, I hired in here. They wouldn't give her a license. They chased her away from me, and then she practices over at Dr. Silk's place without a license. Okay? Dr. Danielle Martin, they won't give her a license. She gave up. I already announced we're trying to open up a 24-hour clinic with 3 more veterinarians. And what was the first thing they did? They tried to shut me down with that immediate injunction where I got to close my building, and they made the announcements that I'm closed. These boards are doing the same thing to all of us. They are stopping us from hiring people.
Can I ask you a question? I'm unfamiliar with the requirements for each of these different industries, but when you petition for a state exam, right, the exam to pass, licensure, probably be the same. If they fail to act within a certain period of time, is there a provision that allows for a reprieve of that law? Let me give you an example. If they fail to act, maybe not choose that, maybe for some odd reason they couldn't act for 12 months, is there a provision that gives a temporary certification for, I'm not representing anybody in this particular recommendation, why don't you put the onus back on the government and say, tell you what, if the government fails to act within 6 months of an officially filed request for state licensure to take the exam, then I get a 6-month reprieve for 6 months up until such time the state acts on it. Now the onus is on the government, because what's happening is we have unproven professionals, probably even incompetent, who haven't taken the exam, so the government has to act to issue the exam. That's just, I'm not thinking
I read through their law.
that doesn't come from any, I'm just saying, why is the burden on?
Some of them, they give extensions to their friends, and they won't.
It just depends who you know.
No, that I know.
Yeah, if you know the right people, then you're okay. If you don't know the right people, yeah, you're not going to be okay. Even if you follow the letter of the law, you will not be okay with the board.
But so in a nutshell, all of you guys, something you were just saying about your doctors this afternoon, Dr. Macri and Dr. Landstrom, and so one from the cancer.
Dr. Friedman?
No. No. The other cancer place was there was a communication with him.
Yeah.
So apparently Dr. Friedman is going off island. Guam Medical Board of Examiners has to approve a license for the person who's going to cover for him. Because of the same issues you guys are talking about, Guam Medical Board is there. The Cancer Care Organization, it's a nonprofit group that helps people with cancer.
Yes.
They were petitioning, they sent me the emails and exchange on back and forth. They won't respond to licensing a doctor who can care for a critically ill patient. And that person from Cancer Care Group was citing the same thing. There's no reason for it. It's an arbitrary decision why we want this. And Sam, in the exchange, the person said to me, Sam was telling me, well, we can't ask because they'll notice they won't do this. Just ask them, they won't listen. So apparently this is an ongoing thing. And at this point, it's just actually impacting healthcare from critically ill patients. Now, according to the documents they sent, there was, again, another situation with TB, Guam Medical Board, not doing their thing, where they said they'd like to be here, but there's a retribution issue. A 19-year-old girl died because of some issue with them not processing the paperwork, whatever. And there's another acute care patient going through some issues. So my question is, I know you said something about being involved, so you're talking about getting health court. You really have a lot of issues, like Will was saying, and I know you've been in court. So with the doctors and the land commission and all this other, what lawsuit are you actually kind of looking for? Is it an open government lawsuit, a discrimination lawsuit?
I'm looking at an open government lawsuit and a discrimination lawsuit and the right to work right now,
But the
okay?
right to work, that's like a union thing, isn't it?
No, the right to work law says you cannot intimidate or do all these things to stop us from working. And that's what they've been doing. Now, I'll take this a step further. These people are still trying to work with their board. I'm done trying to work with the board and compromise. I went to the legislature and Gina Winger Barnes passed a law, Public Law 30-195, where the board members are kicked out and were supposed to be replaced on January 2nd, 2011. We went to Tina, and when they announced that, well, they were going to keep the open government law and drag us to court for 2 years about the open government law, or 3 years, that's what Highsmith said, the AG. And Tina Winger Barnes passed a law that says all public meetings can be videoed and recorded. So what has happened? The board refuses to obey the law, and they wouldn't let us video it.
Yeah.
Okay? What happened about kicking him off the board? The governor refused to obey the law. What happened with the AG prosecuting this? The AG won't even talk to us.
It's the lawsuit.
Public Law 30-195 kicked all those board members off. They are still there. Velma Harper is on the board, and she ran for office. The law says you run for office, you can't be on board for 2 years. These are illegal boards, according to this. You talk about going to your office and having the senators do things. We did, in my case. And the senators did things. But the governor won't obey them. Now, what choice do I have but to sue the daylights out of these people in every and any way I can? Yes.
What do the four of you have in common that will, establish this your individual stories as a collective case of, you said, discrimination, racial issue, persecution?
I think it's the intimidation factor.
So what would you have in common? What's your
One, they won't let us hire people that we want to hire that are qualified.
Because
They just
But
won't,
they're
they
letting
won't
our license.
authorize it.
They're delaying our license. They're not saying yes, and they can't say no. But they just told us in limbo forever.
based on what? Why do you think? Because we all
That's what we're trying to find out.
No,
Why?
honestly, I'll give you the answer why. Because we're successful. She said it best.
It's a conflict
We
of
are
interest.
successful.
We are
Everybody
growing.
here has been successful.
We're growing our businesses. That's what all three of us have in common.
So you're
We are
saying
growing our businesses.
violations of the open government law, the regulations, the laws that are on the books are all being violated basically because
We are out competing these people.
Yeah, it's a competition factor.
Well, here's another one I see it is the inability of the board to promulgate or to act on the law. At least in your case.
At least the board of public knowledge is
Out of the law.
Yeah, well, I don't know the details other than what you have verbalized, but I know for sure it's a matter of public record. The promulgation of the law, the carrying out of the law, the fidelity of the law.
The board of
From every
cosmetology and what he's bringing up as far as all of the acts that the senators passed and the laws, the board is above the law. That's our main problem. The four of us, that's what if we were to sue, or I don't want to sue the government. Like you said, it costs people of Guam money. I don't have a problem with the people of Guam. I have a problem with the boards. And I don't want to drag people's money and resources into this mess. And I want to resolve this peacefully. I just want them to work with us. Like he said, I'm still trying to work with my board. But if my board refuses and if they shut me down, then I will sue. Because I will not let them shut me down. But that they keep threatening that, so they keep me in my place. And the Vietnamese male community here are terrified of the board because we don't speak English. The reason I'm sitting here for you is I speak English. That's the only reason I'm here. Everybody else doesn't speak English. They don't speak English. That's why they're manicurists. If they spoke English, they'd be doctors. You know what I mean? That's why he's suing. If it was just the board of cosmetology, we would never be in this room. Because nobody would be sitting here.
I have a quick question. How many do each of your businesses employ? How many local
I think we
employees?
employ legally like 15, 20 people.
15.
Which is why the senator told me I was too small to count.
Sir,
You know.
All mine are local.
all local. How many? Do you,
I
estimate?
have about 18.
I just want to estimate how many local families are getting
Oh, yeah.
affected. by
Yes.
this.
All the people I hired are
15,
local. I think I only have one from the States.
I've been up to 8, 10. I've had to cut back since, I've had to actually close the clinic because I can't get the other doctor to come in. So Joanna was at 10 now, I'm back down to
What was
5.
your number?
Mine's like at least 20.
33, 38?
Yeah.
I was at 37 and I'm now reduced to 26.
I've had to let 2 people, like I told him,
So
4 people unemployed in 15 minutes.
So
They
we all,
walked through my shop and we gave,
so over 60 local.
yeah,
Between the
these
four.
are families that are longtime residents of Guam.
Kelly, I got it.
How many have lost jobs?
4,
I had to kick 4 out.
4 people lost their
Four.
job because of this.
2 doctors.
you called us here for a
11.
press conference. It hasn't really been a press conference, it's more of a roundtable discussion, but the problem lies over here. The legislature has got to take action to solve this problem. This is a completely dysfunctional system. The oversight system and the licensure system for the professionals in this community, the medical professionals particularly, it's totally broken. It isn't working. And the legislature has got to get that message. Your boss has got to get that message.
Kelly,
Thank you for saying this.
yeah, I think that's, I was about to suggest, I have to duck out.
Yes, no, I agree.
Let's get together. I'm gonna give you my cards with my son. Doc, I met you at Hard Rock, right? TJ Fridays.
Your Fridays, yes.
Yeah, sorry about
I
that.
don't know if I was performing or just.
Any other student function, but so that it doesn't get passed off as being politically motivated, perhaps it would be in all of our interests if we met right after the election. I off the record, I'd love to have it the day before,
Correct.
but let's see John Pax.
Already.
But the reality is, here's what I recommend. I can bring it up to the speaker, and we'll see if she'd be willing to push the issue. But what I can guarantee is a forum, and I don't know what senator will sit in there. I know Jace will push his buttons with Senator Palacios, okay? And Tina Barnes, Senator Barnes, who's actually authored that.
Yeah, Senator
law
Tina's
as
always
existed.
known about our case.
But we'll get that form, and what you need to do, my recommendation again would be collaborate with other folks from the industry. Because the last time we had a forum, when they had about 20 to 30 people just from the barber and cosmetology issue. Now with all of this, there's going to be like 60 to 90 people in the room. And so when the media and when the senators who rely on the public's trust and confidence to re-elect them see their 90 families that she was getting to, that's a very strong statement. And my next recommendation aside, but John also early on mentioned, actually you did, Doc, mentioned really where the heart of the matter is. And it's in the execution or the carrying out of these processes. And it rests with the executive branch. But I don't want to detail, really have another 2-hour meeting in our office. I'll have a meeting and he can give me additional detail. But so let's do that. I'll give this contact information we can meet right after the election. Unless Senator Palacios wants to have a meeting before the election, that's fine. I just don't want you to get the pretense that, the idea that this is a politically
We just
motivated
want a government that
competition.
cares, that's all.
Okay, one last question.
And then I gotta go. Someone worse, I gotta start.
Okay,
Thank you very much, I will be fine. Thank you very much.
Massachusetts.
Yes, thank you.
And Ruhan has your card?
Yes, I work
Thank you very much for coming.
If you don't mind, we're going to send she's going to email address.
Do you have a question?
yeah, just one last question. Okay, so you have all the grievances, obstructions. What exactly, the exact remedy you are looking for?
I think after I personally go talk to the Board of Cosmetology, if I am persecuted, if my shop gets shut down as a result of me speaking out, I will join forces with these doctors and have a class lawsuit against them if I have to.
I'm due for a relicensure. I think we're both on the same boat. So rumor is through
Grapevine.
the grapevine is that they're not going to renew my license.
4 months.
Yeah, for whatever reasons, okay? And so that's the one that I'm going to enact. You gotta understand, I have hundreds and hundreds of patients that see me, and they count on me showing up to work to be able to take care of them. And when they're saying in the rumor, well, we're not going to renew your license, really, it's unnerving because they're kind of feeding into this supposedly this idea that this is going to be a fact. Now, I'll tell you what, part of it, it's one of those things where I am a licensed professional because I've met all the competency as not only academically, but also in terms of my, being good standing, moral standing in my community. Now I'm getting stuff being thrown at me from a personal level, getting calls to my ex-employees, my ex-girlfriends, and asking them personal issues. Well, is this guy a jerk? Or is he this or that or the other? That's nothing to do with me as being a doctor. Okay, what I do with the patients in my clinic is relevant. Okay, that's what's relevant. And now they're bringing this stuff in and spending, so I'm having to sit in the AG's office and having to go through these hearings about someone who has a personal issue with me and spending your government money for what? For a personal problem. I'd be glad to deal with that in civil court. That's not a problem, but they're making it a board issue, okay? Because they know that's a way to get in and color me as being a, how would I say, unsavory character.
You asked the question, how do we resolve this issue?
Yes, exactly.
It's really simple. And I really do mean it is this simple. There are laws in effect, and the laws aren't bad. They may not be perfect, but they're not bad. All we need them to do is apply them evenly,
And fairly.
fairly, have a level playing field, and most of all, obey the law. That is the simple resolution to this problem. Okay? But you want to see how bad it's going to get? November 30th, the last Friday in November, is when they're having the issue on our licenses.
All of us,
Okay.
all the people in the.
Guam Board of Allied Health won't let anybody speak at any public meeting. They have no public forum anymore. They refuse to let anybody speak. We've submitted questions on paper that have not been answered for over a year and a half. 2 years. Okay? 2 years now. Okay? They told us we have to submit our questions on paper. They still won't answer them. But come to the meeting, that's what it's for, November 30th, to relicense all these people. We have our requirements. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You better believe we've made sure we have enough requirements. This board has made it a history of kicking people off the island by saying their continuing education's requirements do not meet. And yet there are almost no guidelines on it. Okay? They tried to deny my credits, but the only reason they had to take it was they had just finished approving the same credits at the same conference from somebody else. Okay? It's amazing what they will say about some of this stuff.
But your case is different from Dr. Martinez's. Your entire due process has been gone through with you, in which they found all kinds of things, shortcomings, not just procedural due process and open government, but actual practice of veterinary medicine. That's in a court. And the
Actually,
court,
they haven't found anything I've done wrong.
I've read the whole complaint. It's
But they
like
haven't
9 cases.
proven one point of
Well, I don't know if they're proven or not, but they're on paper.
Right.
The point is, it's in court now. Your whole case is in front of a judge, right? Yes
Right.
or no? Okay.
Not the whole case, actually, but
That particular case, that particular finding, set of findings against you
yes.
are in court.
Yes.
And are basically stalled there or stopped
And
there.
why are they stalled there?
I don't know. But
Because-
it's different from these other people's cases. They don't have the same level, they haven't reached the same. I mean, we got a file on you as big as Elizabeth's case.
I have,
But these other people, this is all new stuff for us.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So what we're trying to do is, I think we're, like you said, we're still trying to work with our board.
Yeah, I want to
We're
work with the board.
I mean, lawyers fee, honestly, I would rather leave this island and start somewhere else. With the amount of fees that they want to charge me, I can open a business with that same amount of money in the States and
And that's what
continue
they
to
want
live
us
my
to do.
life. But the thing is, if I leave, what stops them from prosecuting the next person and the next person and the next person? That's our point. And if it reaches a level where the three of us, we feel like working with our board is no go, it won't work, then we will take, I guess, if we have to, a class action against the boards of Guam being dysfunctional
I think that's
and biased.
the whole process appears to be dysfunctional.
And that's what the
Consider
press
it
conference, I think, was called because we don't have a voice. We don't have a voice. And we represent the common man. We're working hard legally to make our money and pay our taxes. What are we doing wrong? They treat us like criminals. They come and they walk past my shop every other day. I can't function because I'm always scared somebody's gonna like pounce on me and come up with some ridiculous law that I broke. That's not on paper. They treat it as if it's written down, so you know what, I read the law. Maybe I am breaking the law. It's not here.
Do other salon owners other than the two of you go to this?
They're not here because they're scared. Do you know that I came here and how many people called me and said, let me know how it goes? Because if I win,
Same.
they'll stand up. But they will not stand. People in my own corporation won't stand up. Because if she shut me down, it's only me. But their livelihood is at stake too, and they're too afraid to stand up. Because that's how much power the board has. They're above the law. They can shut you down whenever they want due
And
process.
there's one bigger elephant in the room that we haven't even talked about it, that's the Guam Medical Licensure Board. Then there are issues involving that board, which is the overall board that licenses medical doctors
Yep.
at all levels.
No, not at this level.
Not at that level, no.
They're unit
I'm talking
doctors.
about physicians, I'm talking about medical doctors.
But
And I realize chiropractors have a separate board.
the same board as me.
But the rest of the medical doctors here are governed by that board. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that board also has the same kinds of issues in front of it from time to
And
time.
No, I would say exactly the same issues.
And the same with the dental board. I know that there's, we have a dentist that would be here, but he, and then who else? The nursing board. I have one other individual. that
Well, just goes
So
about the nursing board.
the picture that I'm getting is that we have an entire category of regulation and oversight of professional practices of one sort or another that involve some aspect of medicine or cosmetology, whatever. It's not functioning. The only reason that many of these things are done is because the people involved, possibly including the board members, are trying to keep competition out.
Correct.
That's very good.
And-
It's anti-competitive.
And being new here, there's a 5-year minimum requirement in order to be on the board. I was nominated to be on the board this term. I was disqualified because I haven't been here for 5 years. I've been here for 4. Okay, and when I've been to my cases, I've actually had I've had two of the chiropractors that have been on the board because of their conflict of interest or their complete incompetence, basically taken off the board. They are no longer on the board. Well, it's because I use the system the way it should be used, which is to make sure that I have due process. If they're going to bring somebody, bring these board members, they have to be neutral. How can you be neutral when their best interest is to make sure that you're no longer competitive?
There is a method available with an example on how to solve these issues. And I will take you to the accountants. The accountants have an issue with the other accountants on the island. They send it off island for Oregon or California to judiciate it, okay? Because they realize that amongst themselves as accountants, they can't decide this fairly. This is too tight, too small of a community, and everybody has self-interest. But if you send it off to California or Oregon, that has the same laws, and pay their board to do it, and do it, at least it'll be fair. This can be done electronically, this can be done by flight, and I would add something else into it, that the loser pays all the fees. Now, if the loser has to pay all the fees, and you're not too certain about what you're doing, then people will compromise. If you have a legitimate concern that this person is killing people, maybe not the best example, okay? But if you have a legitimate concern that somebody's doing something horribly wrong, and they really shouldn't be practicing, then you proceed because you know you're going to win and you know it's for the benefit.
So what you're suggesting is a form of mediation. Has any of this gone before Novmber here?
Now, that was the next step that I was going to bring up, was an idea of there being a referee or being a commissioner, a neutral third-party arbitrator. Now, Novmber, I love the concept. It's worked well in civil cases and people that I've known. And I think in something like this, it would work if the parties involved would participate in that process. But I doubt it. No one's gonna enforce this unless there's someone who can say enough's enough. This is where it needs to go.
I don't think
That's not a bad idea, the accountancy.
Yeah, but you have a book thing. Now, I don't think that will actually work in these cases. And I'll tell you why. The reason boards are set up is so that doctors, chiropractors, cosmetologists can govern themselves, because who knows what should go on better than them. Okay? When you have people coming in and talking to a layperson about all these medical terms, if you don't have doctors deciding it, they don't really know. Okay? Now, I give credit to the people on the board, Guam Board of Allied Health, for attempting to understand all these complicated terms and technology and the medicine. Okay? And some of them did a fantastic job of it in my hearings, and some of them did, some of them didn't. But it was beyond at least half of it. So doctors need to regulate doctors, and if you just have a common person, to use the phrase, a non-professional, deciding it for the doctors or deciding chiropractors, I'm trying to decide a chiropractic thing, I don't really know what does. He just tries to decide a veterinary thing, he doesn't really know it. You need veterinarians looking after veterinarians and deciding on the issue, chiropractors after chiropractors. And this can be done by referring it off island to the California Board of Chiropractic Medicine, California Veterinary Board, or things like that, where you have an unbiased group of people that can actually look at this stuff. We can use our local boards to run through the process and see if people are qualified.
Yeah, the board wanted to, for the cosmetologists, they had to take 2 types of knowledge classes, and the people that it's given it is my competitors, and I don't think that's fair.
The
And
people
she-
who
and
grade the
she
practical
works
exams
for
are competitors.
our competitors, the one
The
that
board
shut me
members
down.
are the one grading our apprentice
Yeah.
to see if they pass or don't pass.
Yeah,
How is that not a conflict of interest?
there's a
Because
lot
you
of,
have to stay where you are working as an
With
apprentice.
Don Harper, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
right. But on the other hand, how is a board to find out or to adjudicate issues that come up if they don't have people who understand the practice or what?
That's why I say send it off island
Send it off on.
Yeah.
and pay those boards, and the loser pay the fees.
So,
I mean, compromise is what it's all about.
If you're filing a lawsuit, who are the people you're calling to join the class? What class? Who's going to be joining the class if you're filing a class action?
probably anybody that has a really strong suspicion that their board is biased against them. Unfair. Treating them unfair.
I'll give you another answer to
Treating
that.
the,
Anybody that thinks that this meeting has actually accomplished something. Because we have a lot of people that are just simply scared.
yeah.
And I've had people tell me, there's no way I'm going to go through what
Yeah.
you went through.
They don't want to come stuff
really, I was hesitant when he called me up, but you know what?
I'm pretty much
I
terrified
lost-
right now, too.
I lost revenue, and I need my revenue to help my dad out there. And so I said, I'm coming, I don't care.
You're looking at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
For every person that you see here,
Represent about 10 other people.
and I'll tell you right now, I got a long list, a long laundry list. I got people, doctors just waiting in the wings right now. I'm practicing somewhere else, waiting for something to happen. Because as soon as we can get something resolved here, those other people will reapply for licensure
Yeah.
or come forward or do whatever they need to do. But we have to fix the system before that can happen.
I
And the
think,
winning people are going to be the people of Guam, because their medical care will go up.
Yeah, and that's what we need here.
that's what we need. The prices are too high. We're just trying to give people affordable services. Thank you for
Thank
your
you all
time.
for attending. Thank you.
Thank you.
John?
We
No,
do have
very
a
well
sign-in
put.
sheet. If you guys want to leave your email address, we were asked for the next press conference that should be earlier in the afternoon so that PNC and KUAM will be able to show up next time. So if you guys leave your email address, we'll be able to correspond with you guys.
And next time we'll decide it either as a press conference or as a round table. Excuse us, I guess we didn't know the difference. Okay?